Hello, this is Bob, and I'll be reading the Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 edition of the Fall River Herald News. Today's weather will be turning cloudy, 29 to 36 for a high, 20 to 27 for a low. On Wednesday, morning snow flurries, 31 to 38 for a high, 26 to 33 for a low. Thursday, morning snow up to about an inch, 41 to 48 for a high, 21 to 28 for a low. Friday, mostly sunny but colder, 30 to 37 for a high, 11 to 18 for a low. And Saturday, we're looking at cloudy and an afternoon snow shower, 34 to 41 for a high, 28 to 35 for a low. The sun rose today at 6:45, and it sets tonight at 5:13. The first article on the front page is entitled, Somerset Votes to Keep Fluoride in the Drinking Water. For the fourth time in less than 2 years, Somerset voters have defeated a controversial citizens' petition that would have removed fluoride from the town's water supply. At a special town meeting held Saturday morning at Somerset Berkeley Regional High School, voters were asked whether they favored having the town seek an exemption from state law governing the fluoridation of drinking water. The item failed 192 votes to 154. The article, originally second to last on the meeting warrant, was second to be discussed after Selectman Jameson Souza successfully moved to have it heard much earlier in the lineup with more citizens present, bringing the matter before voters about 20 minutes into what wound up to be a 4-hour, 30-minute event. This article has been in front of us many times, and it's always been at the end of the meeting, Souza said. I feel it should be heard with the majority of the public here at the meeting. Only a handful of citizens were able to speak either for or against fluoridation before discussion was closed. Among them, Sandra Krauner Mitra, a retired biology teacher who said it was imperative that the town continue adding fluoride to its water supply. It benefits the general public as it helps to prevent tooth decay in the general population, she said. As I have said previously, people of my generation are going to be the first generation in history to die with all our teeth. Other speakers spoke in opposition, including Amy Rigtrup, who said she feels she has seen an increase in neurological disorders like dementia, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. I can't directly say it's from fluoride, she said, but said environmental toxins could be to blame and suggested the town remove fluoride to protect our health. Town moderator Lucia Casey made it clear that, per the language of the article, we're not banning anything at this point. We're sending it to the legislature and having the legislature ban it. That's the way it works. When one speaker asked to hear from the town water department, Casey also noted that that was not within the purview of the article. With a voice vote too close to call, a standing vote count was taken. As those opposed to the article stood, the crowd became audibly agitated, and Casey had one person ejected from the auditorium. Somerset voters have heard the same or nearly the same article 3 times before. Previous petitions, all by Elizabeth Paskowski, made their way onto the annual town meeting agenda in May 2023, the special town meeting agenda in November 2023, and the annual town meeting in May 2024. The previous 3 votes failed by 5,480 votes in May 2023, 20 to 53 votes in November 2023, and 20 to 27 votes in May of 2024. Saturday's vote represents the largest vote Somerset voters have taken on the fluoridation issue in recent years. The issue arises as Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., who has claimed, without scientifically valid evidence, that fluoride in U.S. water systems has been linked to a host of medical conditions, is being nominated for Secretary of Health and Human Services under President Donald Trump. Kennedy has promised to remove fluoride from water supplies nationwide. Fluoride has been added to Somerset's water supply since 1968. Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 8C, governs fluoridation of public water by the Department of Public Health. The law does not mandate a specific level of fluoridation. It says that if the state public health commissioner finds that the fluoride content of a city's or town's water supply is not at optimum level for sound dental health, he shall notify the local Board of Health of his findings. The local Board of Health shall, if it considers doing so in the best interest of the inhabitants of the city, town, or district within its jurisdiction, order the upward adjustment of the fluoride content of the water supply available for domestic use in that city, town, or district. Fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral, appearing in varying levels in groundwater worldwide, shown to prevent cavities and tooth decay. A 2023 report from the Somerset Water Department shows that the town's water supply had a fluoride range, tested monthly, from 0.0 to 0.929 parts per million, with the highest at 1 part per million. The U.S. Public Health Service recommends a level of 0.7 parts per million for public water systems. The most recent water quality reports available for Fall River and New Bedford show both cities maintain fluoride levels at 0.7 parts per million. A recent review by the National Toxicology Program from 2024 and a meta-analysis published in the Journal of American Medical Association Pediatrics suggested that high amounts of fluoride, in excess of 1.5 parts per million, was associated with, but did not necessarily cause, slightly lower IQ scores in children. The review looked at studies primarily from China and India, along with a few other studies from Canada, Iran, Mexico, and other countries. An association indicates a connection between fluoride and lower IQ. It does not prove a cause and effect, the NTP monograph reads. The second front page article is entitled, "Is Wind Training Center Obsolete Under Trump?" Within the walls of a 43,000 square foot former package manufacturer, people are being trained for certification to work in the offshore wind industry. Bristol Community College's National Offshore Wind Institute opened in May at 198 Herman Melville Boulevard, and the fully renovated building's interior practically gleams. There are structures mimicking wind turbine infrastructure down to ladders with the precise same rung and width measurements as the real thing. That's where trainees in full gear can practice everything from routine maintenance tours to partner rescues, dangling from harnesses like the real thing while 20 feet from the floor instead of 200 feet from the ocean surface. There is a replica docking site with actual pool for rescue and landing training. There's a mock crew transfer vessel on which trainees can work on their landing skills in the pool. There's even a helicopter underwater egress training vehicle that seats 6, which can be dropped into the pool to simulate a helicopter crash. Trainees learn what to do when their chopper has gone down and flipped over underwater. They're tasked with punching out the windows to make their escape. Does political climate make offshore wind training obsolete? No, say the officials. But after a years-long process to find the current location and over 18 months in renovation work on the building, The Trump administration has taken office with the new president taking an openly hostile position towards offshore wind energy, stating that no new wind turbines would be built under his watch. Does that make the training offered by the NOWI effectively obsolete? No, says Bristol Community College officials. They point to the state's support of renewable energy, but also say the safety and technical training they are providing is necessary in other industries, not just offshore wind. Kevin Spurlett, Bristol Community College Associate Director of Media Relations, said in a prepared statement, quote, Massachusetts' long-standing bipartisan support for renewable energy initiatives strengthens our resolve to contribute to the state's evolving energy landscape. Spurlett said, although offshore wind is in our name, the NOWI continues to expand its high-quality, hands-on training across multiple industries beyond the offshore wind industry, such as manufacturing, construction, maritime, and renewable energy, ensuring that the workers are equipped with the skills and certifications necessary to succeed safely and efficiently in their work environments. While Bristol acknowledges current political discussions, he added, NOWI is well positioned to provide the necessary training and support to meet the demands of a sustainable future in many different industries. Joanne Bentley, Bristol's Associate Vice President of Administration and Facilities, said, the important thing to know is offshore wind is in our name, but we're much more than that. We do much more. We're an occupational safety training facility. Employers outside offshore wind who need their workers certified in safety and specialized work disciplines can also turn to NOWI, and they can use its services when an employee needs a refresher course for regular recertification. The training center is also flexible, Bentley added, and can work to accommodate employer licensing needs and schedules. NOWI has Global Wind Organization certification to train for work in the offshore and onshore wind industries. And NOWI also has a 5-year partnership with Maersk Training, a Danish firm which provides specialized training that emphasizes safety, operational performance, and technical proficiency across sectors such as wind, oil and gas, maritime, and beyond, according to its website. Bentley said the technical side of the training offered involves mechanical, electrical, hydraulics, bolt tightening, and installation. We're not trying to make an electrician out of you, she said, but if the lights go out, you'll know what to do. It's been a slow start, she said, but they're ramping up. 21 people went through training programs last month. They hope to double that number per week, Bentley said. They offer classroom sessions on theory, where the teacher-to-student ratio is 12-1, and then move on to hands-on training, where the ratio is 6-1. A basic safety training class lasts 5 days, she said, and the fee includes lunch and breakfast. They have 12 instructors, mostly active and retired firefighters from Fall River, New Bedford, and the area. Fall River Fire Department District Chief Matt Johnson teaches in the Bristol Community College's Fire Science Technology program, but he's also been an NOWI instructor for the last 6 months. For us, it's a natural transition. With our training in the fire service, we've done tech rescue, high-angle rescue, water rescue. We have marine, we have divers who cover from the fire service. The first aid component is a seamless transition for us. Most of our guys are either medics or nationally registered EMTs, Johnson said. The third front page article is from USA Today. Trump and officials blast court decisions. Then Democrats, others concerned administration will ignore judiciary branch. President Donald Trump called a federal judge's ruling a disgrace. Elon Musk, whose Department of Government Efficiency staffers were denied access to Treasury Department computer systems, said the judge should be impeached. Vice President J.D. Vance said judges had no authority to limit a president's legitimate power. These harsh reactions to an adverse decision have led some Democrats and legal experts to voice concerns the Trump administration may ignore unwelcome federal court decisions. The concerns come after Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts warned in December against members of both parties defying court rulings. The battle over limits on executive power coincides with Trump's attempt to shrink the federal government and change long-standing policies over issues such as immigration. With Republicans in control of the White House and Congress, opponents of Trump's policies have few avenues outside of the courts to fight back. Trump told reporters Sunday on Air Force One the rulings could still be overturned on appeal. He previously voiced optimism that the Supreme Court would side with him in ending birthright citizenship for children born to parents who are not legally authorized to be in the country. But Trump and other officials were particularly critical of U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer's Saturday decision in New York denying Musk's Department of Government Efficiency access to the Treasury Department's confidential central payment system. Trump contends his proxies must be allowed to hunt for waste, fraud, and abuse within the executive branch. We're very disappointed with the judges that would make such a ruling, Trump said. No judge should be frankly allowed to make that kind of decision. It's a disgrace. Disputes over that ruling and others could lead to a constitutional showdown between the Trump administration and the judiciary that redefines limits on executive power, according to some Democrats and legal experts. The separation of powers is the foundation of democracy and individual liberty, Liz Gotein, a legal expert at the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University, said in a post on X. There's a word for political systems in which leaders decide which laws to follow and whether their own actions are legal. It's dictatorships. Trump opened his administration with a flurry of executive actions that advocacy groups and some state attorneys general have challenged in federal courts. Judges have blocked Trump from restricting birthright citizenship, a buyout offer to federal workers who agree to resign by September 30th, and a temporary freeze on federal grants. Trump has vowed to appeal at least some of the decisions and said there is plenty of time for better rulings. Disputes over federal court decisions come at a time when Roberts, who serves as head of the federal judiciary, has warned that judges must remain independent of the other two branches of government. Within the past few years, however, elected officials from across the political spectrum have raised the specter of open disregard for federal court rulings, Roberts wrote on December 31st in his report to the judiciary, without citing examples. These dangerous suggestions, however sporadic, must be soundly rejected. Several Trump administration officials criticized Engelmeyer's decision on Sunday. Vance said a judge couldn't tell a general how to conduct a military operation. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power, Vance said in a post on X. Musk responded to Vance's post with his own criticism. A corrupt judge protecting corruption, Musk said in a post on X. He needs to be impeached now. Stephen Miller, a White House deputy chief of staff, calling the ruling unconstitutional on Fox News. This isn't just unconstitutional, Miller said. That ruling is an assault on the very idea of democracy itself. Political rivals blasted Vance's position. Representative Dan Goldman, a Democrat from New York, said in a post on X that the judiciary makes sure the executive follows the law, and if you do, then you won't have problems. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said in a post on X that decisions about what is legal and illegal are made by courts of law, not by the vice president. Former Representative Liz Cheney, a Republican from Wyoming, said if the administration feels any of the rulings are setting unconstitutional limits on the executive, the recourse is to appeal. You don't get to rage quit the republic just because you are losing, Cheney said in a post on X. That's tyranny. U.S. District Judge George O'Toole in Boston was scheduled Monday afternoon to hear more arguments about the Trump administration's buyout offer to federal workers. U.S. District Judge Janette Vargas in New York set another hearing at 2 p.m. Friday in the case over Musk's access to the Treasury Department. Steve Vladeck, a law professor at Georgetown University, said presidents can appeal adverse rulings rather than imply that they shouldn't be followed. The way an executive branch that restricts the rule of law objects to a district court ruling it doesn't like is to appeal it, not to imply that the ruling just shouldn't be followed, Vladeck said on X. Goitein at the Brennan Center said the Trump administration appears to be gearing up to defy court orders. Courts, she said, will decide what is the legitimate power of the executive branch. The answer to that question is 100% settled and has been for 222 years, when the Supreme Court famously recognized that, quote, it is emphatically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is, Goitein posted on X. This next article is entitled, New Retirees Depending More on Social Security. One reason cited is decrease in pensions. The decline of pensions as a source of retirement income leaves newly minted retirees in a precarious position. They are potentially more dependent on Social Security to make ends meet. New research from an employee benefit nonprofit seems to provide a stark illustration of that trend. The Employee Benefit Research Institute surveyed 3,600 retirees in 2024 about their spending. The survey found younger retirees were much more reliant on Social Security than older ones. The oldest retirees, ages 74 and 75, reported that 52% of their income came from Social Security. The youngest, ages 62 and 63, said they drew 67% of their income from the Retirement Trust Fund. The finding appears in the Institute's 2024 Spending and Retirement Survey, published in November. The reliance on Social Security as an income source declines with age, or at least that's what the retirees are telling us, said Bridget Bearsden, research and development strategist at EBRI and author of the study. Other research also suggests that the youngest retirees, typically born in the 1960s, are relying more on Social Security to get by. In one recent survey, the nonprofit Trans-America Center for Retirement Studies found that retirees in their 60s were more likely than retirees in their 70s to cite Social Security as their primary income source by a margin of 63% to 55%. Retirees are leaning more on Social Security amid the decline of the traditional workplace pension, a dependable source of retirement income for generations of Americans. The number of Americans participating in defined benefit pensions in the private sector dropped from a peak of 42.3 million in 2008 to 30.2 million in 2022, federal data shows. Defined benefit pensions have really gone away, said Evan Potash, executive wealth management advisor at TIAA, a financial services company. It's now up to us to save for our future. With pensions in retreat, workers are expected to finance their retirement through a combination of Social Security and savings, primarily the 401k and individual retirement accounts. Social Security was never intended to fully fund retirement. On average, the benefit covers about 40% of a worker's pre-retirement earnings, and that figure could drop. Social Security faces a shortfall by 2034, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Financial advisors suggest workers aim to save as much as 10 times their annual income to supplement Social Security in retirement. But most Americans don't save nearly that much. In the 65 to 74-year-old age group, for example, the typical family with a retirement account has about $200,000 saved, according to the Federal Survey of Consumer Finances. Only about half of those households have retirement accounts at all. The net effect is that workers have become increasingly expected to self-fund a greater portion of their retirement income. But many have lacked the awareness and access to workplace retirement plans to do so, said Catherine Collinson, CEO of Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. The new EBRI report finds retirees increasingly struggling with credit card debt and spending more than they can afford. Half of retirees surveyed said they saved less than they would need to fully fund their retirement. The survey found younger retirees living on a tighter budget than their older peers. Only 21% of the youngest respondents, aged 62 and 63, reported monthly spending of $3,000 or more. Among retirees ages 74 and 75, by contrast, 45% reported at least $3,000 in monthly spending. Researchers also found that younger retirees had fewer income sources than older ones. Roughly 2 income streams for the average retiree born in 1962 and 3 for those born in 1949. Those economic factors, less income from fewer sources, might help explain why younger retirees are more dependent on Social Security, Breeden said. Researchers caution that it's tricky to compare retirees at different ages. People who retire earlier tend to have lower incomes than those who retire later, said Gail Weston, a senior research economist at Boston College. And retirees who claim Social Security at 62 or 63 might be under more financial duress than those who claim it later. Other research shows the latest generation of retirees, the so-called Beatlemania boomers, facing a looming fiscal crisis. Late boomers, born in the early 1960s, have less retirement wealth and less retirement savings than older boomers, according to a 2023 paper from the Center of Retirement Research at Boston College. To compare wealth, Boston College researchers examined different generational groups in the same age range. They found that the youngest boomers had less wealth, chiefly from the economic effects of the Great Recession. The decline of pensions is one reason why younger boomers are struggling in retirement, researchers say. It will be an even bigger factor for Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980, and the oldest Gen Xers turned 60 this year. And we've now reached the end of our half hour. This has been Bob reading the Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 edition of the Fall River Herald News. Thank you very much for listening and have a pleasant day.